Okay, so we're about to step into a world that's hidden in plain sight. This is our deep dive into James P. Spradley's incredible book, You Owe Yourself a Drunk. It's really a journey into the culture of men living on our streets, what Spradley calls urban nomads. And what he found? Well, it pretty much shatters the story most of us tell ourselves about them. Let's get right into it.
In this quote right here, this is the whole thing in a nutshell. Society sees a man who can't keep up, a failure. But from inside their world, it's a man who doesn't want to. You see the difference? That's not a story of failure, that's a declaration of independence. And believe me, that changes everything. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First up, we're going to tackle those two warring labels, bum versus tramp. Then, we'll peel back the curtain on the unwritten rules they actually live by. After that, we follow their journey into what they call the bucket, jail, and see how it, kind of paradoxically, becomes their classroom. And finally, we get to the book's most shocking insight about how this world is really built. Right, so the first huge question is, who are these guys? And it turns out the answer totally depends on who you ask. Society has one label for them, but they have a completely different one for themselves, and the two could not be further apart. This chart just lays it all out, plain and simple. On one side, you've got the label society slaps on them. Bum. That word just screams failure, dependency, crime. But on the other side is their own identity, tramp. And that means survivor, independent, mobile. And listen, this isn't just about picking words. They aren't failing at our game. They've chosen to play a completely different one. And this different game they're playing, it isn't just a random mindset. Oh no. It is a full-blown subculture with its own logic, its own roles, and its own rules. It might look like chaos to an outsider, but it's just a different kind of order. I mean, just look at the complexity here. It's fascinating. Inside their world, there are these really distinct roles. You've got the boxcar tramp, who's respected for traveling light, the rubber tramp, following seasonal work by car. You even have the home guard tramp, who's a kind of local expert. This isn't just a random bunch of guys. It's a real society with its own hierarchy and its own social map. And if you boil it all down, this is what you get. Two core values that drive absolutely everything. Mobility, the freedom to just pick up and go, and independence, the freedom from being tied down by jobs, by property, by our rules. These aren't just preferences. They're the highest virtues in their entire world. So now we get to the real heart of the book. It's a process that defines the life of a tramp more than anything else, that endless cycle of arrest and jail. And they don't call it getting arrested, they call it making the bucket. And for them, it's become this powerful, identity-shaping ritual. Let's just walk through this journey. It starts on the street, which to them is basically their living room, with a very public arrest. Then comes the call box, where they're stripped of the few things they own. They get booked, thrown in a tank, and then rushed through a courtroom. It becomes painfully clear that every single step is designed not just to process them, but to systematically break down who they were on the outside. And this ritual is just relentless. I mean, think about this. One man in the study, a guy named John Hallman. His total jail time for 74 convictions of public drunkenness added up to over 14 years. A life sentence served on the installment plan, not for some violent crime, but for the crime of being a tramp in public. And what was the barrier between him and freedom? What was the price tag? $20. That was the bail. For less than the cost of a decent meal, he could have avoided months, sometimes years, locked up. This isn't just about justice, it's about poverty. For a tramp, $20 can be this insurmountable wall, and on the other side of it is everything. Okay, so this brings us to a really shocking twist. While the system sees jail as a punishment, for the tramp, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes a university. Seriously, it's where you go to learn the skills you need to survive, not in our society, but in the world of the urban nomad. The first lesson you learn is about time itself. In jail, doing time isn't some abstract idea. Time becomes a physical thing, a commodity, a debt that you have to pay down, one day at a time. It's not about changing or getting better. It's about enduring. You learn to live only for today, because that's all you really have. The second course, and probably the most important one, is hustling. This is the art of survival. It's this whole informal economy built on favors, on trades, on pure resourcefulness. You're not just learning to get by, you're learning how to navigate this incredibly complex social system. This is the real education. This is the masterclass in tramp survival. And here's the crucial connection. The ability to hustle, to live day to day, to navigate a world with its own set of unwritten rules, these aren't just jail skills. They are tramp skills. The jail doesn't reform them out of this life, it literally trains them for this life. It's the most effective and brutal orientation program you could possibly imagine. So, if the very system that's designed to stop this way of life is actually teaching it, what in the world does that mean? Well, that question brings us to the book's powerful and deeply counterintuitive conclusion. Get this, the revolving door of the jail, it isn't a failure of the system, it's the engine of the system. It's a machine that takes men whose ties to society are already frayed and methodically, efficiently turns them into tramps. It doesn't just manage this subculture, it actively manufactures it. So how does this machine actually work? Well, first, it strips away their old, respectable identity. Then it replaces it with a new set of skills, hustling. This new life makes staying put impossible, so it forces them to be mobile. Over time, a whole new identity is forged, the tramp, the inmate. And finally, all that shared hardship creates this incredibly powerful bond, a real brotherhood of the road. So Spradley's work leaves us all with this deeply uncomfortable question. What we designed as a solution, they experience as their origin story. And if the system that's supposed to solve the problem is actually the thing that's creating it, then where on earth do we even begin to look for the real answers?